Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Martinez with Martinez Art Lab. Today we are going to be working in both Adobe Photoshop 2020 and Adobe Illustrator 2020. So we're going to be working in Photoshop to edit our photographs, and then we're going to be working in Illustrator to bring our edited photograph in and make our final work of art. So today what I'm going to be doing is working on a portrait of an animal. That animal is a photograph taken by a local shelter, and I'm going to be making a piece of digital work out of it and then passing it back to the local shelter for them to use in whatever way they would like to. So I'm going to open up Photoshop and I will click open, and I'm going to navigate to one of those cat photographs that I have. This is a cat that's up for adoption, and I'm going to be changing this cat into a work of digital art. So what I want to do is delete the background here, and I'm just gonna, first thing I'm gonna go to the bottom and I'm gonna enlarge this image just so when I'm working with it, I can get a cleaner cut around the cat. So I'm going to use my let's see. I'm going to be using a couple different tools. So first I'll use my magic wand and see if I can get any large portions out. All right, and so I'm going to press delete on my keyboard, and when I'll click OK. When I press delete on my keyboard, backspace, if you are not on a Mac, deletes that larger portion of background. And I'll go ahead and do that in a few different spots. So I'm just clicking with my magic wand, pressing delete on my keyboard to see what I have here, and then I'll go in and refine, and I'll go in and refine with some other tools. So now that I've got these larger portions deleted, I really don't want to delete those whiskers there, so I'm just going to kind of go off to the side, delete some of these larger portions. And now I'm going to go in with my eraser tool, and my eraser tool can be pretty big right now, so I'm going to use the right bracket on my keyboard to make it larger. Oh, and I have this locked, so I will unlock it. And oh, that's what I'm doing. So I need to make sure there's no selection. That's why it wasn't letting me erase. So I will go to deselect. Now I'll be able to erase. And you can see it's actually deleting the white background as well, which is something I was going to do eventually. So I'm just deleting that. I'm going to get as close to the cat as I can without actually deleting any parts of him or her. And now that I've done that, now I can go in with either a smaller eraser, or I can go in with my magnetic lasso, which is what I'm going to opt for. And I'm going to click. Every click I make is going to make a tighter outline of my cat. So I really want to make as many clicks as I can here. I'm just going around. I'm being really careful around my whiskers here. And I'm making lots of clicks. And I'm still probably going to have to go in and delete a little bit. But this is going to take a lot of work out for me. Little minute details with my eraser tool. So now I've got almost done here. Remember, the more clicks I'm making, the better my outline will become. So you see, I wasn't very careful at the bottom there, and it did not outline my feline friend here the way I should have. So I really should have gone a little bit slower. So be careful when you're doing this. Make sure that you are going nice and slow and making lots of clicks. For the purpose of this tutorial, I want to go a little bit faster. My first click and my last click ended in the same spot. I'm going to go up to select an inverse. That selected everything but the cat. I'm going to click delete on my keyboard, or in some cases you'll be clicking backspace on your keyboard if you don't have a Mac. Now I'm going to go up to select and deselect. So now I have no selections. Now I need to make this even larger, because now I need to go in and smooth that out or delete all of those little edges. So I'm going to choose and use the eraser. I'm going to use my left bracket to make it smaller, and I'll go in and I'll just kind of smooth out those edges. I want to make sure that I'm not accidentally taking any pieces of my cat out of the picture, like maybe his ear, so I want to be really careful. But I do want to just make sure I go around and get all that darker spot out, so it's a nice clean cut that I'm making. And what I'm doing in Photoshop right now is I'm cutting out my cat from away from the background, and then I'm going to go in and bring this photograph, the edited photograph, into, I'm going to actually delete that because that was mostly a blue background. I'm going to delete this portion too. I was hoping those fine lines would show, but they came out kind of messy, so I'll delete those. And I'm going to bring this edited photograph into Photoshop or into Illustrator, and then I'm going to change it into a work of digital art. So now that I've got this portrait pretty cleaned up, this cat pretty cleaned up, I'm going to go in and I cut off the bottom of the cat. So I'm actually going to use my clone tool, and I'm going to make a selection, and then I'm just going to fill in the bottom with the rest of his fur, since I accidentally deleted that fur. Okay, there we go. And then this part doesn't really make sense, so I will make a new selection and get the golden fur on here to make sure that it makes sense. And one more selection to fix that part. There we go. We'll take it back to 100%. This is my cat that I have fixed here, and now I can go ahead and take it into Illustrator. I will say this is not a perfect editing job, so for your final project you really want to focus in a little more and make sure these edges are cleaner, but for the purposes of this tutorial we are good to go. So I will go up and I will select all, and I will go to edit and copy, and then I can go ahead and pull open Illustrator and I can click create new. I'm going to create a letter size. And after my letter size is chosen, I'm going to go over orientation. You can have it portrait or landscape. I'm going to keep this on landscape, and I'm going to leave the rest of my options the same at the default, and I will click create. And now I'm going to go back up to edit and paste, and I've pasted my animal here. Now I'm going to resize my animal. I'm going to make sure I'm doing that by going over to the selection tool. I'm going to go to the right anchor. I'm going to left click and drag. I'm going to make him larger. Doesn't matter if he gets a little bit blurry, because I'm going to go in and alter him anyways. So I'll undo that to keep him in proportion. And now I'm going to go right over to image trace, and I'm going to choose 16 colors. And this has changed my my portrait into a digital portrait. This is actually going to be the work that I submit and save now. So now I'm going to go up to File. I'm going to go to Export, Export As. I will save it to my desktop, and I'm going to save it as a PNG, and I will save it with my name and the name of my project, and I'll click Export. Okay, and I will make sure my background color is transparent. I will click OK, Click OK. And now my photograph or my new piece of digital art is saved to my computer and I am good to go. I hope that you have fun making your digital portraits.